As in the bottom left, it's your blue Zerg from a Freak of Freaks. His name is Armani. And in the top right, from Shopify Rebellion, it's Byun. Alright, so, Byun versus Armani. A bit of a classic. I think this match has been played out quite a few times, especially in online events and in GSL qualifiers. And usually it has been Byun getting the upper hand of the blue Zerg in this case. And Byun's form, honestly, recently has been pretty good. I know Byun played in the EU qualifiers for Asus ROG as well as NA, and I don't think he actually did manage to qualify through either of them, but put up some really awesome games, and his TVZ especially, I really liked the look of. He did play Serral in the Korean qualifier. Of course, Serral did play from EU, but even with that ping advantage, I really did like how Byun's TVZ looked recently. And it's been nice to see him kind of start to get back into form. You know, Byun has always been up and down. He's been a bit shaky in the past. He's had, a few tournaments in a row sometimes where he's not playing the best, and then he'll come back and he'll manage to find his stride and get some really big wins. And of course, for every pro player, consistency is the goal. And so I'm interested to see if Byun is able to reach that, because he's definitely in the past been able to. But his playstyle is, has always been very, very explosive and very dependent on his micro and his ability to do multitask and just move his armies in multiple places at once. And so, that does mean that his success is very highly dependent on the form he's in, as manages to snipe a Zergling. And if I've learned anything from professional StarCraft 2, sniping a Zergling with your Reaper, it does mean that you're going to win the game. So, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, as Byun has a kill on that Reaper, manages to poke around a little bit, kills one of the early Zerglings, and is just kind of getting into a standard transition from this. This is your 1-1-1 with the earlier third CC, which means the second gas doesn't go down until after the starport. And then there will be double Hellion production on the way behind it as well. And we'll see. Usually, again, Byun has always been a bio player, so this is probably going to be a situation where the third CC lands, fully saturates the natural, pops down those additional barracks, and then eventually is going to be looking for a stim and combat shields 1-1 timing attack that you see probably, right around that 7 or 8 minute mark, with a lot of Marines and Widow Mines or tanks. I think tanks has kind of been the more popular choice for Terrans recently, just because lurkers are so prominent that even if you do go with the Widow Mines, you're eventually going to swap into 2 or even 3 factory tank just to deal with the lurkers. And we'll see if that's the case for Byun, as we do have a Liberator on the way early. So, gonna be using that to poke around. And I've seen Byun actually do this a few times, where he does like to go open with that Liberator. And it just allows him to push into the natural, or into the main mineral line, to see if he can snipe a Queen, if Armani especially isn't paying attention. And even maybe get a few drone kills, as Hellion Reaper is gonna be pushed away. No surprise there, the Queen's already in position. Even manages to get the Reaper as it tries to go in for vision, and there we have Stim on the way. And we'll see when Byun pops down the additional barracks. It should be rather soon, as he's moving over all of his add-ons. And there we go, second and third barracks gonna be added on. So this will be, again, Byun macroing up, getting onto 3 bases, and looking to eventually hit a timing attack with his upgrades coming through. But that won't be for a little while. In the meantime, Armani is just playing very, very safe. We'll be going for a bit of a Ling counterattack here, and we'll see if he does commit. There's not a lot of units for Byun here. Doesn't have a lot of Marines because, again, he committed to the early Hellions, so that means that everything is going to be brought back just even for that one Zergling, as Armani doesn't commit all of his units. Does this Liberator actually kill this Overlord? This is very funny. This is... You don't see this often. But there we go. Liberator kills off the Overlord, and I mean, it is something there, as Liberator did get a single drone, or didn't even get any drone kills before that, but oh, here comes Armani. Has the Roaches and Ravagers, decides he doesn't want to wait anymore, and instead is going to send them across the map as Byun, oh no, he lets them into the main. GG, yeah. He wasn't expecting it as much as me. I was. As in the top left, managed to get that cheeky win. It's Armani. And in the bottom right, Byun. And yeah, Byun and me both were not expecting Armani to just push that across the map. Of course, you know, probably could have gathered from the lack of a fourth base when Byun was pushing out with the Liberator, but I think he was too busy, you know, bringing back the Hellions, dealing with those Lings that were trying to, you know, were hanging around his third base, and just didn't have a lot of units. So Armani just does this, you know, rather strange, but I mean, very, very efficient push, where he's going to be getting Roaches anyway to try and defend against the Hellions, and then, you know, any follow-up push that comes out from the Terran, he just says, you know what, I'm just going to attack. We're just going to go for it. And he does manage to get the win, and that's a push that I think I've seen Armani do it before. If I'm not wrong, I've seen him do that against Protoss players. Or at least or a similar push against Protoss players, but that is more so when he has been trying to, you know, get counterattack damage and knows he can't really defend the base that's being pushed by the Protoss. I've never really seen a push like that just as a push, where it's, you know, 3 Ravagers or so, you know, 5 Ravagers and a bunch of Zerglings. A very interesting push though, and hey, it gets the job done. It definitely blindsided Byun, where he wasn't really scouting out enough. He had to bring the Hellions back again to deal with the Zerglings, and that means that Armani can then push out those units. And Byun was, you know, unbeknownst to him, that those units were coming across the map. So I guess, you know, if you do kill a drone or a Zergling with your Reaper, it's not the end of the game, in fact, actually. So we'll see what Byun does. He actually might be able to snipe another Zergling here, but it's too low, and Armani microing this very well. Keeping 2 back. Ooh, Byun snipes the first one off, and might even commit deeper here, as he's going to be able to push some of the drones away. Oh, Armani? Oh, almost loses a drone. He's going to lose another Zergling. A third? Oh my god, Byun. The fancy feet. So good. And you'll take that trade any day of the week, as 3 of these Zerglings do go down for that 1 Reaper. And we do have the exact same build as a follow-up for Byun, going into the early third base. Of course, second gas after the starport. So again, focusing on that macro, although you do have to worry, hey, you know, maybe Armani's just going to be aggressive again. Armani, in the past, has been a player that I really, you know, he kind of had problems similar to that of Bunny, where they didn't really have a style that was their own. They didn't really have, you know, a play style where you look at it and you say, oh yeah, that's Armani. That's how Armani plays. You know, with DRG, of course, you have this really heavy focus on Ling Bane, Roach Ravager, and this just super aggressive Zerg style that's looking to trade constantly. You know, with Serral, you had the run buys back in, you know, 2017, 2018. With Rogue, you have the brutal timing attacks and macro. And of course, Dark, just sheer tenacity is how I describe Dark. But Armani never, I don't think, really didn't have his own playstyle for a while, and I think recently has been starting to develop it, has been starting to finally find his own groove in the meta and in how he wants to play. And so I'm excited to see how he continues to play throughout this series, especially, and in the future. You guys see if we do start to see a pattern, if we start to see him really develop his own identity. And I think, you know, Armani is a player who, he likes to be aggressive, so I don't mind him just saying, you know what, yeah, I'll be aggressive. I'll go for these really early timing attacks. You know, I'll just try and get on top of my opponent. I think it's a style that could definitely fit him, and it has caught Byun out in game 1. It does not appear, you know, at the moment that it's going to be a repeat build for Armani, as, excuse me, he is macroing up, excuse me, to get additional drones and additional gases at his natural. As, ooh, that's an early armory. What are you going to do with that, Byun? Because right now, what that looks like to me is that this is going to be a Hellbat push with a bunch of Marines and the Cloaked Banshees. Although, no, Marines are being kept back home. So yeah, it's just Cloaked Banshees and Hellbats. This is an old style Hellbat push that I haven't seen in a while, but it definitely was marauding the ladder for a long time, and we'll see, there already is an Overseer out as the Cloaked Banshees are getting focused down, but Armani doesn't focus down the Banshees, actually. They're going to be able to get a bunch of kills onto the Queens before one finally goes down. The Banelings come through. And once again, we see why no one does Hellbat pushes. Because more often than not, the Zerg is going to be able to defend it. But Byun, he trades out for a few Queens. You know, he forces a lot of units out of Armani, I guess is, you know, the bright side to this. Because behind it, it's given him now time to macro up into additional barracks to work on his double NG bay, and he'll have stim finished by the time anything comes across the map. But still, gotta feel like that is not as efficient of a trade as you would like. So Armani, I mean, he just positioned it well. Had the Queens behind the hatchery so that they couldn't get focused down, so that the Hellbats couldn't get any surface area. And now we have the Spire on the way. +1/+1, Armani just really macroing up here. And Armani is the one thing that I do really like about his gameplay, especially, and especially his ZVT, is he very heavily focuses on getting his upgrades up. Armani, there's not really a game where you'll see him, you know, forego his +1/+1, or even his +2/+2 for his Ling Bane. He's very active with getting those upgrades and trying to, you know, take aggressive and efficient trades with them. And in the past, I've seen it really benefit him, you know, especially against players like Maru. And, you know, even though he might eventually lose those series, he puts up some great games because of it, as we have 8 Mutalisks now on the way. +1 flyer attacks. The 4th base is going to be finishing up, but it is not as fast as you'd probably like. Probably like it to be a bit sooner, just so you're even farther ahead of the Terran, because right now Byun is still building his. There's so much damage, the drop gets done. Zerglings commit in, but there's not enough of them. Hot pickup comes through, but Armani, he is waiting and waiting to try and capture these Marines. That's a very nicely played cleanup here from Armani. Focus fire does go down. Can't get a second Mutalisk. You see Armani there, loses a few lanes, but brings in the Banelings, forces the pickup, and then has the Zerglings waiting so that, you know, the medevac can't actually escape, and the Marines can't be dropped down to save it. That's just very smart play from Armani. +1 flyer attacks is going to be finishing up fairly shortly, and ooh, Byun, this might be a bit of an anti-timing. He does have +1. But he's going to be pushing into these air attack upgrades, which are so close to finishing up. And he does get an efficient trade there. As 10 workers go down. How did 10 workers go down? A drop, a Widowmine drop into the back. Byun just slips it through. While engaging at the front, just has that queued up. It gets so much damage. As Byun looking to clear up the creep. Ooh, these Widow Mines. It's a good Mine Drag at first, and a second one is actually very nicely done. Armani is going to be able to eliminate the Widow Mines. Ooh, takes a big hit there, though. And we have just Byun resetting. He's going to be getting up to his 4 bases, currently floating his 4th onto site, and it just means that Byun is really not even that far behind economically compared to this Zerg. He's, getting his +2/+2 at the same time as Armani, who has sacrificed a lot of his economy to get into this really just large army. But even then, I don't think that's benefited Armani that much, Sure, he has +1 flyer attacks Mulus, and these are going to be really annoying moving across the map, but Byun, he already has Thor's out. And ooh, Armani bunches it up. Manages to spot out that Widow Mine and get rid of it. I just can't help but feel like Byun right now is in a really great spot. So he has 2 armies just slowly, just kind of sitting on either side of the map, making sure that Armani can't push. And our Zerg has finally gotten up to 82 workers, which is kind of that sweet spot. In fact, it's going to be going up to 91. So closer to that 100 worker count, but finally what you would consider healthy for this stage in the game. But still, he's only now taking his 5th and 6th. The situation where Byun economically, I would say, is even if not ahead with Mules in comparison to the Zerg. As Armani, he's gonna look to try and commit in, but can't really find the angle. The Widow Mines dissuading him more than perhaps they have a right to, because it's only the one of them that's actually on the ground. And here we go, the concave, the nice snipe for Armani. He's gonna look to clean up the whole army here, and I don't know if Byun can hold on. Has to pick up, has to get out, because that was all of Armani's army committed to that one spot, and now he's gonna try and commit into the 3rd, but Byun is bringing back everything. He's gonna look to engage with his whole army as well, and Armani just has to get on out. Oh, no, the burrow. Oh, so much damage. That was beautifully played, and now the Meadle's actually harassing this 5th base, which is trying to go down. I think they might actually be able to snipe this. Finally, Marines are going to come through. Armani, he's committing. He's going to lose a lot of Mutalists for that. Oh, that's brutal. So maybe just go down, but Zergling's committing on in. Armani's trying to be everywhere, but Byun's forces are just defending so well. Byun has units where he needs them to be. The CC, I believe, actually did just burn down there, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, the CC burned down, so Byun was unable to save the command center, which is a pretty decently big loss. But behind this, you have +3 coming on the way for our Terran. The bio upgrades are going to hit their stride pretty soon. Ultralisk Cavern for Armani with Adrenal Glands and his +3. This means that the Zerg is going to, it's going to take a little bit, but will be able to defend better. The issue is those big Widow Mine hits, and as well, Byun, he's pushing on 2 fronts here, and that's exactly how you beat Ling Bane Muta. Ling Bane, Ling Bling, it looks to overwhelm the armies, and if it's not able to do that, then it's not going to be very efficient. But now it's going to be Armani committing in to try and snipe as much as he can in the main and the natural. Banelings are going to start rolling through. Already 15 workers going down. Byun, what do you have? He's having to bring back his 2nd army. He snipes the base, though, at the same time. 22 workers go down. It's still a 93 worker economy for Armani, who was in a pretty dire position on equal economy with the Terran, but has now managed to fight back and find the damage he needed. Is on 5 bases comfortably, has Ultralisk that he'll be able to produce very soon. and just working on rebuilding his Mutaflock. And I'd love to see more Thors come out here from Byun. I mean, the Thors, they do such a good job of soaking up Baneling hits, and being able to tank as well. And, you know, the splash damage onto the Mutalisk, of course, is so useful, but right now, only has 2 on the field. I don't believe they even have +2, so not able to 2-shot Mutalisk with the splash damage. Baneling's being baited, or Widowmine, sorry, being baited nicely. And Byun, he's just trying to open up the map. He's finally managed to reestablish his 5th, but here comes another Zergling run by, and Armani is just all over the map right now. But Byun defends it well, has that force defending, is now going to be able to snipe away this 6th base of Armani. At the same time, moving down another force to try and get the 5th, but can't commit to that. Immediate snipe onto the Widowmine. Baneling trying to roll through, but some great kiting here from Byun. Does such a good job to, you know, get rid of a lot of the Ling Bane, but it's eventually going to clean him up. And now the Mutalisk is going to start to commit on through. How many missile turrets are there? There are only 2. Is Byun on top of the repair? No, isn't even paying attention. He was pushing on the other side of the map. Which means only loses 4 workers and isn't be able to lock the Mutalisk into this awkward position in the main base. Armani should be able to find a way out where there are no missile turrets. As Marauders get cleaned up here on the side. And Byun, he's trying to push multiple positions at once, but the Baneling just roll through. Oh no! Goes for the pickup, but runs his Marines into them. And the only saving grace here for Byun is that he has established this, this 5th base, which is, you know, gonna help him out a ton in staying equal with Armani. But you can see the income graph. He's lost so many workers, sitting at 50 right now. And here comes Armani. Has Ultralisk, has just a massive amount of Banelings, and I really feel like here, as Byun, you want, you know, more Widowmines. You want to be working with a bit larger of that splash damage count to get rid of the Zergling Bane force. And he does have a good amount of Widowmines that are just kind of pocketed around the map. He has the 3 here, and I wouldn't mind seeing those move down even closer to try and, you know, catch units that are being built. But we have pathogen glands on the way. Infestors are going to be the next stage here for Armani. He's gonna need to hold on first though, because this is a lot of bio coming out from Byun. It's 147 supply. And how are the splits? Well, and first force that was pushing the front is eliminated, but Byun can keep pushing this. He's setting up the pre-split. He's making sure that he can then stim in and resplit it, and this is already a great concave from Byun. Armani commits in, but at the same time, all the 4th base has been taken out. Byun's committing to the front, but he's losing so much back at home, and his Lings and his Mutalists, all the Banelings detonate onto the Thors, but look at the supply. Look at the Remax from Armani. I don't think Byun has enough. These Marines, they don't do any damage to the Banelings. Get a massive hit. And these Mutalisks, the backstab is massive. Byun is suddenly shoved back. He's at 120 supply, and what was seeming like such a good game for him has now been turned on its head. And again, I wish these Widowmines had been with the army for Byun when he pushed, because they have so much utility. They're able to clean up so much of the Zerg army. Like, look at these hits. But it's not gonna be enough. All the Mutalisks do go down, and Armani commits a lot to that base, but he can just rebuild. Has 3K in the bank. And I'm loving this play from Armani. Just all over the map, constantly counterattacking, being active with his, you know, with his mutas. Making sure that there's never really a comfortable time for Byun to push out, and now Byun has to commit to the front. Has the Widowmines with this, which is, you know, gonna help out quite a bit, as that's already a good shot coming down. The Banelings have been thinned out. But you can see already there's a counterattack going down at the front. Byun has to try and just control this, but the Ultralisks are just gonna pounce the Widowmines. They're gonna get a lot of damage, but it might not matter. Byun, he's gonna stim on in again. cleans up a lot of the ultras, but it's still a 2k bank in the back. Zergling run-bys are going to clean out the natural and his 4th base. As much damage as Byun make it down, it is Red Marines. They are stimmed to death. And that supply has dropped below the 100 supply count. And despite how well he's been able to trade here against, against the army of Armani, it's 5 more Ultralists on the Remax. It is multiple bases being cleaned up, 17 workers. Here comes the reinforcements, and the Focus Fire is great, Byun. Widow Mine shots can be as good as you want, but the Remax is not there for our Terran player. He's on 1 base, and it's going to get cleaned up here. Armani's going to take a 2-0 lead in this series. And what a beautiful game it was from Armani. Again, prioritizing those upgrades. I felt like it might put him too far behind economically, but he managed to make it work. He managed to get himself into a position where it didn't matter, and now he's just trying to roll over Byun. GG, Armani takes game 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on to 2,000 atmospheres, and down in the bottom left, he's up 2-0, perhaps against all expectations. Or maybe not, because he's been playing on absolute fire recently. From a freak of freaks, it's Armani. In the top right, he's going to need to start to make the comeback happen. From Shopify Rebellion, it's Byun. And surprisingly, as much as I talked about game to game, about Byun's form and, his play style and how he's going to be able to show up and stay consistent, and how Armani doesn't have, a play style of his own, it feels like all of that was for naught. Because I've definitely seen that last game, especially from Armani, it was really beautiful. I mean, that's the type of games that Armani likes to play, where he keeps up with his upgrades. He's trading with Ling Bane on equal upgrades to the opponent who's on bio, and he does sacrifice a bit of his economy for that. And against players like Maru, and like, a Cure, that does start to make him struggle. But against Byun, who is looking to trade aggressively with bio, being on even upgrades with your Ling Bane and being able to constantly just stop him from pushing, it just means that, Armani's able to really take control of these games. And of course, I do think that for as good as, Byun's opening was and how he was even on bases with the Zerg, you do kind of got to look at the Hellbat push. It just didn't get anything done, and, if Byun had saved those Hellbats and the Cloaked Banshees, if instead he had, just tried to harass with the Banshees, keep the Hellbats, and then later push with Stim Bio, Hellbats, and maybe a few Widow Mines, maybe that game looks a bit different. Because again, it's just the Hellbat pushes, there's a reason why pros slot them in. It's because they do work. But they just don't seem to work at a professional level, where players are constantly ready for pushes like that, and where you're never going to catch, a Zerg who doesn't have enough units to defend it. And it's like it's a one in every 50 games that you'll catch a rogue, and you'll beat rogue with a Hellbat push, or you'll beat a Serral with a Hellbat push. And so sometimes it does start to feel like it's just really not that worthwhile to even go for. As the Reaper wasn't able to get any kills, and fortunately was put down at a low enough health that it couldn't try and snipe the creep tumor. Sometimes what you'll see is if the Terran player doesn't take a lot of damage on their Reaper, and especially if they don't even really push with it, they'll instead dive in onto that first creep tumor, KD8 charge the Queen away, and snipe it, and it gets them actually quite a bit of damage to that Zerg, because that creep spread is so important for them. Once again, though, we have the same opening from Byun. Gonna start double pumping his Hellions as almost as the Reaper, and heading into the quicker third CC. And we'll see if he's able to manage this game better. I don't necessarily feel like he, mismanaged or played the last game badly. But it was a situation where, again, he committed to a build that didn't get him any further ahead, and then that allowed Armani, with, again, his, heavy focus on upgrades, to start to trade fairly efficiently against the army of Byun. And it just meant that he couldn't really take that economic advantage that he had and turn it into anything. And then you also saw, Armani just making some beautiful plays with the meterless backstabs, the counter attacks, and the run bys, just really stopping Byun from doing anything. Once again, we're gonna have Banshees with Cloak on the way, and well, that's unfortunate, as the Overlord is able to scout it out. So there's the immediate cancel from Byun. Instead, going to start to work this into probably a bit more of a stim timing attack. Does have the single Banshee out though, so we'll be pressing with this and seeing what he can get done. Oh, Byun? Not paying attention. Doesn't quite lose the Banshee, but it's just those little things that happen where now suddenly he can't really commit with this Banshee to try and get any damage, just because he wasn't paying attention to it. Two NG bays, on the way with the additional barracks, so should be seeing +1/+1 immediately started with the amount of gas that Byun has at his disposal. As the Hellions just poking around, but Byun just being very, very passive. Really not, committing to any pushes to trying to, dive in with the Hellions anywhere. Just has the Banshee hanging out on the Zeldonga Watchtower, making sure that Armani can't get any vision from it. And it does feel like Byun here is going to start gearing up for something similar to what he did last game, which was that 1-1 push. The push that really got cleaned up quite easily by Armani in the last game. Or it didn't get cleaned up, but Byun was hesitant to continue to push with it, despite the fact that it felt like he had gotten, some decent trades at the start. As Armani gonna lose quite a few links here. And 7 Marines being pumped at a time. This is gonna be a very powerful timing attack. Should hit right around the 7-minute mark. You see Byun, he's starting to bring everything down. He's gonna clear up creep with the Hellions because they can get out more easily as so they're gonna try to commit, but they're not able to. But Stim is here, and those Hellions, I would just dive on in. I feel like canceling those Banelings is even bigger than keeping the Hellions alive. But we'll see as Byun now has a strong push here. He's gonna wait for the 1-1 to push down this 5th base, or this 4th base even, of Armani. Again, Armani, he already has +1. It's already started on +2/+2 with the Spire, but it does mean that he's on a very low worker count compared to what you'd expect. It's only 4 bases from the Zerg. This is his 4th. He has to hold on here as Hellbats have been morphed. Banelings are rolling in. Oh, that Widowmine shot is juicy. But it's already more Banelings being produced, and Byun doesn't feel like he can really commit anymore. A nice denial here, actually, of the 5th base from Armani, as we do have 6 Mutalisks on the way, even more Zerglings being produced. And we're gonna start to see that macro engine for Armani on 4 bases kick in. As well, I didn't expect that Widowmine to get 3 worker kills, but as soon as this +2/+2 hits, you gotta start to feel a little bit scared here for Byun. Although Armani really, I feel like, could kind of press his advantages a little bit more here. He's gonna clean up this army on the left side, but I feel like if you are the Zerg here, sitting at 1.5k in the bank and not even close to maxing out right now, it just feels like perhaps even a little bit lazy here from Armani. I feel like, cleaning up this Widowmine is obviously big, but getting a 5th base getting, you know, up to 90 workers and saturating the fourth is what should take priority. We'll see as Byun is continuing to push. He's just clearing up creep, making sure that, you know, he's keeping the Zerg back, and you gotta feel like in just this straight up macro game, Byun feels like he's in a great spot. He's gonna be able to catch up with the 2-2 timing, which means that Armani is no longer gonna have that massive advantage that he has at the current moment. He's already getting into Thors, already have Widowmines on the way, and that fourth base being established. This doesn't feel like there's a lot here for Armani as he's gonna commit on in. Oh, the splits are not there. So much of Byun's army gets exploded. The turnaround is there for Byun, and behind this, I mean, what does he clean up? Look at that, unit's lost. So many Zerglings going down. There's still a pretty decently sized Mutalisk flock that is available here for Armani. But I don't know, this push here is scary. It's 2-2 bio. Oh, the Banelings do roll in and get a lot of damage. Byun is still gonna push the issue. He's gonna try and stutter step this back, but it's so dangerous. Oh, that Widowmine hit. It's absolutely glorious, and Armani now has to rebuild. That base is going to be cleaned up. Banelings try and roll in, but it's not going to do anything. And Byun manages to kill the base. So you have the fourth base going down already for Byun. Suddenly taking, I mean, a huge economical advantage, for sure. As Banelings roll in once again, the split backs are good. There's not enough here to really be able to fight what Armani has. He's gonna be able to clean it up. Oh! 2 Widowmines. So many Mutalisks go down. And now Byun is working on his +3/+3. Of course, that was some pretty decent losses that he ended up taking there. But he can continue to push. He can continue to fight, and I don't know if Armani has quite enough to stop it. It's a lot of Zerglings that are currently on the map, but they're still sitting on +2. The biggest difference between this game and last is that Armani at this point had 5 bases, even though they had been continuously canceled, and was getting into +3 alongside his Ultralists, and now he's just losing Zerglings for, I mean, sniping an upgrade. Drilling Claws goes down, and that's an important upgrade, you know, for the Terran, but still, bleeding out so many units when you're already on such low economy just does not feel worthwhile for Armani. As again, Widowmine's going off, it's such good connections. Once again, Armani, he's able to clear up that small force. The real question is it going to be worth it in the long run? Because if you're looking at, I mean, the trades here, oh, it is devastating. It is almost 3K more minerals lost for Armani and double the gas. Byun has been trading super efficiently, despite the fact that he has, you know, lost large chunks of his army. Again, he's on 4 bases. He has mules. This is where a Terran wants to be. And now he's pushing down this side of the map. And what is there for Armani? Armani's sitting at 50 less army supply. He's gonna try and roll in with the Banelings, and the Widowmine drags are good. The splits, though, from Byun are just barely not enough. And somehow Armani is holding on, and he's cleaning up these fights. And I feel like it would be so nice if Byun had more Widowmines available to him. He's finally, you know, continuously pumping 2 at a time with the Drilling Claws, but Armani is gonna try and look for damage. Did have to pull out. The base goes down. And Armani, once again, is onto 4 bases. And I say just, you know, the base goes down, but the base goes down. Armani's in an awful spot economically. Sure, he's on 83 workers, but he is, you know, not even mining more than the Terran. And Byun is not even really muling his bases. Byun at this point is just using his energy for scans because he knows he doesn't need to use mules to keep his economy ahead. There are Thors consistently being produced. There are more Widow Mines out on the map, and it's +3/+3 bio. Armani, he's getting his +3 upgrade soon, but I don't know if it's gonna matter, as here comes another base going down. Armani is not in position, and even if Byun loses his army, the Stutterstedt micro is great. He trades out as efficiently as he needs to. And he's gonna be able to force Armani in a position where that supply is going to continuously go down. Mainly run by is denied. Armani is trying to push the front, but he can't even do that. And this next push from Byun should be the death knell. There is so much bio here for the Terran. And these these Banelings are trying to get on top of the army, but the splits are so good. GG. Byun takes game 3, and he's gonna start the comeback. And yeah, that really felt like that game 3 is what it felt like. That's what game 2 should have been. It was the exact same macro position that Byun had been in. You know, the exact same scenario, but that game he didn't commit to any attacks. He made sure that Armani didn't get any damage with the run-bys and counters, and just continued to macro up and eventually take such good trades, and that Armani couldn't keep up. And if Byun could do that again, you know, it's definitely very possible that he can take this game 4 as well. But again, it's if he can repeat that, because so far this opening, you know, has been used all 3 games, where it's the 1-1-1 with the second gas after the starport and the early 3rd CC, and that was the first game where he finally got it to work. So far, it's felt like Armani has really had his number with that build, especially. Has just been going, again, aggressive counterattacks. You know, constant Ling run-bys. I mean, the stuff that Cyril did in 2018, I mean. And it's been working pretty well. Again, Armani just being aggressive. And I do love the style. The heavy upgrade focus. Again, I do feel like it does put him behind economically sometimes. But occasionally that doesn't matter, and Armani's still able to make it work. We'll see if he still continues to go for that. As the Reaper here is already going to be annoying, actually gets there quite quickly, and done. Dancing around, might be able to snipe that Ling. Already gets one and can now start to work on a few of these drones. Oh, gets a drone! That's massive. That should really never happen. But that Reaper has 2 kills. As yep, it is the same build once again. Byun not really showing any of his punches, and of course that does make sense because this has been played before GSL, and his GSL match is tomorrow. So it's not surprising that you see Byun, go for the same build every single game, because you don't want to show what else you're gonna do. And that's another thing that comes into account with these pro matches, and especially with these, these smaller tournaments that are played, is if you're a player who is preparing for a larger match, you gotta save stuff. You can't really, show your full arsenal in a best of 5 as you might do otherwise, when in the off season from tournaments, or when or directly after one. And so, as much as I kind of criticize Byun for doing the same build all 4 games in a row, you do have to say it does make sense that he would do so. And now once again we have Banshees with Cloak on the way. We'll see if Byun decides to go for the Hellbat push once again. You usually see that Armory being placed down right around when the second Banshee is going to start, or is about, you know, a third of the way done. But then that, it's a very, very passive start to this game. In Armani style, double Evo Chamber already on the way. It doesn't appear as though Byun is going to be trying to go for the Armory or for the Hellbat push, which again, I like. I don't really, I'm not a massive proponent of the Hellbat push. I don't think it is a good build. But this is quite a bit of Hellions. If Byun is able to find an opening here, and, you know, where the Queens aren't in position, could get a ton of damage, and this might be it here. 3 Queens ready, and Armani brings over the rest just to make sure that they can't commit into that mineral line. Because if these Hellions do get in, that is just a toasted mineral line. There's no question about it. You're not saving any of your workers in that situation. But Byun already working on his +1/+1 with Stim on the way and 4 barracks going down, so he's already getting ready for a massive bio transition out of it. Gets 4 drones with the Banshees and gets on out. Just gonna continue poking around with those as the third base has been established. And once again, this feels like a really great start for Byun, where he's not even that far behind economically. Only 11 workers, which at this point in the game, with mules, means you're just about even. And you're gonna have that +1/+1 finishing up for Armani fairly soon. Byun's will be a little bit behind, but that has been, you know, kind of the story of these games. All of them, where Armani gets that very early 1-1 into 2-2. And there we have the Armory as well, already on the way. So, you know, Byun, he's gonna be looking for eventually doing a push with the 1-1, Stim, combat shields, and transforming these Hellions into Hellbats to tank the Banelings just a little bit better than he would be able to otherwise. But it's going to be very dependent on him hitting before 2-2 finishes for the Zerg. But here we see, preparing 2 tanks, already finished, and this is the first time I think we've seen Byun do this push with tanks. So we'll have to see, you know, if that adds any danger to this attack as Banshee's committing it. Ooh, managed to get a Queen. The tanks are being brought out. Banshees are going to get cleaned up here, and one already goes down, the second one not being microed back. But it is all about this push for Byun. Armani, a lot of Banelings on the way, and Byun can catch this huge flock of Zerglings. That'd be absolutely huge. No, Armani setting up the killer surround. And he might just be able to wipe this position if Byun isn't careful. Tanks are gonna get sieged. Here we go, Banelings committing in. Zerglings for the wraparound. Can Byun split in time? The answer is kinda, but still, it is such a clean up from Armani. He knows he has 1-1. He knows he can trade efficiently, and he just sets it up, knocks it down. The strike for Armani, and Byun is put back onto his back foot. He's gonna start trying to work around the map with these double drops, and of course that is a good kind of option if you are feeling like you are behind, which in this case really does feel like Byun, after that push just being, I mean, completely crushed, is because there's already a Hive and a Lurker Den on the way. Armani is preparing for the Lurker transition, and it's going to hit super hard. I don't know if Byun's going to be ready. He is producing 2 tanks at a time. So Byun has recognized the fact that there are no mutalisks out on the map, and that has to mean that there is going to be, of course, lurkers being produced, and there we go. He's going to scout out the Hydra Den. This drop is getting so much damage done. The Zerglings themselves alone can't fight it. He's gonna try and focus down the Hydra Den. Focus fire onto the Banelings is beautiful. All the Zerglings still get cleaned up. And Byun trading so efficiently here will finally pick up. But got so much damage done. The double trap down to the right side was also picked up. But now we have the transition for Armani. I don't know why the second Hydra Den is going down. I think that was a response to the Hydra's Den being focused. And Armani just forgot to cancel it, but he has Vipers on the way. +1 ranged weapons and +3 Carapace. Gonna be the name of the game for Armani as this hatchery is gonna start to get focused. I don't think Byun can kill it in time. He's gonna have to pick up and get out of dodge. Run by. Quickly shunned away. Byun trying to get 3 drops at a time onto this map, or 3 armies at a time pushed out, but this getting shut down at every corner. So many, I mean, the medevac goes down, so many Marines cleaned up. Armani splitting his army extremely well now. And here comes the push from Byun. There's 4 lurkers on the way for Armani, but they are not going to be here before this push comes. The siege, their siege too late. The tanks are, but still pushes away the army. Byun is able to reposition, and this game is seeming, I mean, incredibly close at this point as Byun has established his 4th base. He's now trying to snipe the 5th of Armani once again. Is there anything here for Armani? The 5th is just going to go down if Byun focuses it. Byun focus fire! And the base goes down. The pickup comes through, but here's the commit from Armani on the other side, and all of the Zerglings are cleaned up. Byun taking some amazing trades right now. Currently only producing +3 armor, and I think that's a pretty massive mistake here from Byun. He has enough gas for it. Should be producing the +3 weapons attack. I think just, did he double Q it? No, just forgot it. But he's working on the Ghost Academy. Oh, Byun, what is this? He's going straight into the main, but are they going there? Oh, the parasitic bombs! Going down, but it's not going to be enough to stop the army from unloading. Byun, he's committing into the main. And Armani's just not in position in time. This should be able to get a ton of damage done. Not even sure how 8 workers go down. I mean, I assume it was a Baneling run by it somewhere. Because Armani has been so good about those, but Byun, he's stimming in. He's going to try and get rid of the lurkers, and he does so. Still 18, 20 drones go down. The army will eventually be cleaned up as the rest of Armani's forces are brought to bear, but Byun, I think, loses some workers back at home to a Baneling run by, but gets all that damage back. As now +3 Carapace for both of these players is completed. Again, Byun just not having that +3 attack is going to hurt him so much. And as well, these siege tanks only sitting at +1 right now. You know, they will do damage, and they'll do additional damage to these lurkers, but they're not gonna trade against them as efficiently as you'd like, with Armani getting into his +2. And luckily, Byun does remember the +3, so that's on the way. Still is producing, I mean, 2 tanks at a time, 3 actually now. Which has been, you know, which is the response that Terrans have been saying. This is how we beat the lurkers. But here comes Armani going for another run by, and this one's really massive. So many Zerglings committing on in. The tanks, they're good, but they're not good against Zerglings. 10 SCVs go down. 14 in the end there. It's a good amount of damage, but Byun, you know, still at a healthy 64 worker count, and that's a position that you're happy to be in as the Terran, as you're establishing your 5th base. You still have mules that you can pop down, and now you have ghosts already on the way. What is Armani doing with his army? I mean, lurkers and hydralisks. They're good, but there's so many tanks here for Byun. So many tanks. 6 on the map right now. It's gonna be hitting up to 8. As there's a snipe immediately, but Armani's already committing in. He doesn't want to give time for Byun. The blinding cloud is good. There's no splits from Byun, but it doesn't matter. He's able to kite back enough. And still keeping that supply lead. Byun now would like to see him start to saturate this 5th base, but has 3 tanks being produced at a time. The +3 attack will be finishing up for the bio units, and that's, again, super big for trading efficiently against these lurkers. But I would love to see +2 for the tanks. +2 for the siege tanks is such a huge upgrade. And here comes the Nidus plays now. Armani, he says he wants to commit, he wants to go. Can he defend the front though? Because Byun is committing on in. The snipes are canceled. The one is there at home, Byun. He can't pull anything back. He does have a siege tank ready. But here come the lurkers. They're just gonna, dive on in, and that tank is dead. Byun just lifts off, says, can't really hold this base, and this is the danger of Nidus worms, is if you allow a Nidus to get into your base with these lurkers, it can just get so much damage done. And it just forces Byun out of position. So now, here comes Armani. He's gonna commit onto the 5th base because he knows that Byun's whole army is trying to deal with the main. And 12 workers go down, the base will be sniped. As this single lurker is just wreaking havoc. Absolute havoc. There isn't anything in the additional Nidus worms, so they will be eliminated, but Armani working on plus 14 lurkers? What? I mean, I guess Armani had a lot of gas available, but already has 4, is gonna have 15 lurkers when that finishes. I mean, does Byun have enough tanks? He has 10 tanks and 15 ghosts. I don't even know if that's enough, though. These lurkers, they have speed burrow. They're gonna have +3. And you can see Armani, he's trying to, continually get these Nidus worms into the main base. But it's just not working out. That's really nice snipes there. Gets rid of the vision for Armani. Byun, he's gonna keep pushing down. But he can't, nope. Counterattack from Armani. Pulls back. Says he's not gonna try and risk a base race because he needs to keep his planetary alive, but it still goes down. And Armani commits in where he knows where the army isn't. And he has shoved Byun back onto, I mean, 1 and not even a half. Pretty much just 1 base at this point. And Byun, he has a massive army, but he needs to do damage with it. He needs to push with it. And Armani has just been counterattacking constantly wherever Byun isn't. As soon as it looks like Byun can push, as soon as it looks like he's gonna move out, no, Armani moves in with Lings, Banes, and Hydralisks and kills another base off. And now there are so many lurkers on this map. You see Byun scans and he just says, no, I'm not gonna deal with that. 15 lurkers? No, thank you. Oh, the Ghost Hit Squad. Oh, the Ghost Hit Squad. There should be more kills, but the detection is already here. Byun, I think he misstepped. His army's gonna get collapsed on. Byun loses everything. His supply plummets down to 120. It felt like that was the right move, but just didn't queue up the snipes fast enough. The Ghost Hit Squad was there. If he had queued up the snipes, he could have easily gotten rid of all the lurkers. But one misstep is all it takes, and Byun's economy is in shambles. He's only mining 400 minerals a minute. Again, Armani just sniping bases. Even just this little move with the Zergling, stopping Byun from being able to push or to land down this base. And it's absolutely brutal. Armani is he's going to be queuing up another run by here in the meantime. And I mean, it feels like there's only going to be one more push here for Byun. He still has some ghosts left, and he still has a few tanks. That is his only saving grace. Is really nice snipes onto a few of those lurkers. Oh no, Byun loses 3 tanks. Those would have been so useful. So useful. I mean, if Byun pushes with 8 tanks, it's going to be hard for Armani, even with as many lurkers as he has, to clear it out. But imagine if he had 11. He would have been so much more potent of an attack. Well, Armani here with a bit of a misstep is just allowing a few of his lurkers to get sniped. But he's just going to commit on in because he knows that Byun does not have the units that he needs to hold this. Armani, he's just trying to crush on through, and he's going to be able to do so. All of the army gets cleaned up. The tanks are eliminated. And what is there left for Byun? Not a lot. He is sitting at less than 100 supply. Nothing left in the bank. Armani, he's going to take the 3-1. GG. Byun taps out.